I never thought I'd end up out here. In this old house my uncle left me when he died. It's miles from anywhere. Nothing but cornfields and gravel roads that turn to mud after rain. I moved in about 2 years ago because the city was eating me alive. Rent was too high. My job was grinding me down. And I just wanted quiet. No neighbors. No traffic. Just me and the wind rattling the shutters. That's what I told myself anyway. It was supposed to be a fresh start. Now, I can't sleep without the lights on. And even then, they're there. It started small. The kind of things you dismiss as animals or the house settling. I'd hear scratches in the walls at night. Like claws scraping plaster. Or footsteps. Tiny, pattering ones. Crossing the floorboards when I was trying to read in the living room. I figured it was mice. Country houses are full of them. I set traps, brought poison. Even called an exterminator once. He poked around the basement. Said there were droppings everywhere. But nothing big enough to worry about. Just field mice, he called them. That was 6 months in. The noises didn't stop. They got louder, more deliberate. The first time I saw one, I was in the kitchen, heating up a frozen dinner around midnight. The microwave hummed, and I was staring at the window, black as ink outside. Something moved in the corner of my eye, a shadow darting under the table. I froze, heart kicking up, grabbed a flashlight from the drawer and shone it down. There it was, a little man, no more than 3 feet tall, crouched between the chair legs. He had pale skin, and his eyes were too big, like black marbles sunk into his face. He was naked except for rags being wrapped around his waist, filthy and torn. He didn't make a sound, just stared up at me, his black eyes focused heavy on me, like he was sizing me up. I yelled, God, I must have screamed, and swung the light away. But when I looked back, he was gone. Slipped into the vent under the sink, I guess. I tore the place apart that night, checking every crack, every shadow. But I saw nothing. I told myself it was a dream, or maybe a raccoon that looked weird in the light. But I knew better. After that, they came every night. Not one, but dozens, maybe hundreds. I'd wake up to the sound of them in the hallway, their bare feet slapping softly against the wood. I'd lie there in bed, sweating through the sheets, listening as they gathered outside my door. They never forced it open, not yet, but they'd push against it, testing the lock, their small hands thumping against the wood. Sometimes I'd hear them on the roof, scratching at the shingles, or in the attic, dragging something heavy across the beams. I boarded up the vents, nailed plywood over the loose floorboards, even chained the basement door shut. Didn't matter. They'd find a way in through the chimney once, tumbling down in a pile of soot, coughing silently as they reformed in the fireplace. I'd stomp at them with a broom, and they'd scatter like roaches, vanishing into the walls. They're all the same, 3 feet if they're lucky, skinny as starved dogs, with those dead eyes and jagged nails on their fingers and toes. No hair, no clothes worth mentioning, just those rags that look like they've been gnawed on. And they don't talk, not a word, not a grunt. They just watch. That's the worst part. They'll sit at the foot of my bed sometimes, in the dark, their heads bobbing as they breathe. I can feel their stares, heavy as hands on my chest. One night, I woke up to find 3 of them on my dresser, passing around my wallet like it was a toy. They flipped through the cards, poked at the photos, then dropped it and slipped away when I sat up. Left the room reeking of damp earth and something metallic, like blood. I stopped going into town after a while. The drive's too long, and every time I come back, the house feels different, like they've been rearranging things while I'm gone. Chairs moved an inch to the left, drawers left half open, my tools from the tool shed scattered on the porch. I found bite marks on the door frames once. Small, even teeth marks, like they were testing how it tasted. That's when I started thinking about what they eat. There aren't any mice anymore, not since the traps went empty. But the scratching in the walls turned to chewing sounds, wet, ripping noises that went on for hours. I'd lie awake, picturing them in there, tearing into something soft and warm. Rodents, maybe, or worse. It got bad last winter. The snow piled up, and I was stuck inside for days. That's when they got bolder. They'd come right into the living room while I was watching TV, volume cranked to drown them out. I'd see them first in the corners, peeking from behind the curtains, then more would creep out, crawling on all fours across the rug. Dozens of them, eyes glinting in the TV glow. They'd circle the coffee table, inching closer until they were right at my feet, reaching up with those claw-tipped fingers. I kept a shotgun by the couch, unloaded, because I'm no killer, but it made me feel like I had some control. I'd rack it, and they'd freeze, then back off, melting into the shadows. But they always came back, an hour later, like they were wearing me down. One night, about 3 months ago, I couldn't take it anymore. I hadn't slept in 2.5 days, and my head was pounding like a migraine from hell. I chugged some whiskey straight from the bottle and passed out on the couch. Woke up to the cold, freezing, even though the fire was still going. The room was pitch black. The power must have flickered out, but I could hear them, closer than ever, breathing right in my ear. I fumbled for the flashlight on the table, knocked it over, cursed as it rolled away. When I finally grabbed it and clicked it on, they were everywhere. The whole floor was crawling with them. 50, 60 maybe, climbing over the furniture, hanging from the bookshelves like spiders. They didn't run this time. They just stopped, all of them, and turned to face me, silently staring. Then the ones in the front parted, like they were making way. 2 of them dragged something forward, a bundle wrapped in what looked like an old bedsheet, stained dark and stiff. They dropped it at my feet and unwrapped it slow, peeling back the fabric with their nails. I didn't want to look, but the beam shook in my hand, and there it was, a head. A man's head, severed clean at the neck, the skin grey and bloated like it had been underwater for weeks. The eyes were gone, pegged out, maybe, and the mouth hung open, tongue swollen and black, hair matted with dried blood, a beard patchy where chunks had been torn away. It wasn't old. The guy looked my age, 40s maybe, with laugh lines etched deep around where his eyes should be. I recognized the house key, still tangled in the chain around his neck. My spare, the one I'd last for when I was chopping wood. I puked right there, all over the rug, the whiskey burning back up. They didn't move, just watched me heave, their heads tilting in unison. One of them, the biggest, maybe 3.5 feet, reached out and prodded the head with a finger, like he was showing it off. Then they started dragging it away, back into the corners, and the rest followed, slipping into the walls like smoke. I sat there till dawn, shotgun in my lap, loaded this time. Shot holes in the floor when I heard them rustling again, just to make noise. Didn't hit anything, but the echoes kept them quiet for a while. That head, I keep thinking about it. Buried it out back under the oak tree, wrapped in plastic so the dogs from down the road wouldn't dig it up. But I can't shake the idea that it was someone like me, another guy who thought the country would save him. Maybe he lived here before Uncle did, or maybe they got him on the road, lured him in somehow. And the way they showed it to me, not angry, not triumphant, just casual, like sharing a snack they'd finished. That's when the cannibal thing hit me full force. I'd seen the bones before, scattered in the yard like chicken wishbones, too big for birds or squirrels, femur fragments, ribs cracked open, and the attic. God, the attic. I went up there once, after the head, flashlight cutting through the dust. Found nests of rags and twigs, and in the middle, a pile of leavings, gnawed ends of fingers, a jawbone with teeth still in it, smeared with old grease. Human, had to be. They weren't eating mice. They were eating people. Us. And I'm next, aren't I? The way they're crowding in thicker every night, their scratches turning frantic, like they're hungry. I tried to leave last week, packed the truck at first light, threw in clothes, the shotgun, whatever money I had. But when I went to start it, they were under the hood, 10 or 15 of them, wedged in the engine block, staring up through the grill like it was a cage. I revved it anyway, heard the thumps as the tires caught something soft. Drove 5 miles down the road before the radiator overheated, steam pouring out like blood. Walked back, had to, no phone signal, and there they were on the porch, waiting. Not mad, just patient. Sat in a row on the steps, eyes locked on me the whole way. I haven't tried since. Now it's every second. They're in the bathroom when I shower, splashing in the drain, their fingers curling up through the grate. In the fridge when I eat. Once I found a hunk of meat on the shelf, raw and veined, that wasn't there before. Tastes like pork, but I can't swallow it. I sleep with the lights on, bedroom door barred. Feeling go across every threshold, because some old-timer in town once mentioned it for critters. Doesn't work. They climb right over it, smearing the liquid under their feet. I don't know how much longer I can hold out. The whiskey's gone, and the food's running low. Last night, they got into the bedroom while I was dozing. Woke up to one perch on my chest, 3 feet of cold weight, its face inches from mine. It just breathed, slow and ragged, while the others tugged at the sheets, pulling them down inch by inch. I bucked it off, rolled to the floor, and ran for the hall. Locked myself in the closet, back against the door, listening to them outside. Scratching, thumping, waiting. They're still out there now, as I write this. I can hear them under the floorboards, chewing on something that sounds an awful lot like wood and bone. If you're reading this, don't come looking. Don't buy the house when they find my truck empty on the road. Just burn it down. Salt the earth, whatever it takes. Because they're real, and they're always hungry. And one night, it might be my head. They show you. Steer clear of the Toddle Monsters.